Presented by Rocket Your Life, Rocket Can.
Live from the O'Reilly Auto Parts Studios, here's Jake Asman.
Think O'Reilly Auto Parts for all your car care needs. You can get guaranteed low prices and excellent customer service from the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts. O'Reilly Auto Parts, better prices every day.
10 seconds to go. Bruins have it behind the Islander net. New York Saints is the chant by this Islander crowd. Letty on the far side off the glass. 5 seconds to go. Bruins hold it in behind the New York net with three reaching on it. The horn sounds, and the New York Islanders defeat the Boston Bruins by the final score of 6-2. The series is over. They eliminate Boston in 6, and they will head to the Stanley Cup semifinals for a second straight year, where they'll meet the Tampa Bay Lightning once again.
Chris King, Islanders Radio. Islanders advance. Same old Islanders right back in the NHL's semifinals for the second year in a row. After the Coliseum crowd sang the national anthem to open Game 6, you knew the Islanders were not losing that game last night. They thrashed the Bruins, scoring 3 goals in the second. Brock Nelson, one of the longest tenured players on the team, had a massive game, 2 huge goals, and the Islanders end up winning the game 6-2 after they scored a few empty net goals to put the game out of reach. The Islanders have become one of the model franchises in sports. They have had one of the great turnarounds in sports, and they prove that it really all starts at the top. Keith Jones said it best in the postgame last night. The Islanders put on a clinic in how to close the game out. The Bruins could not get the puck late in this game. The defense by the Islanders was suffocating. The high to low, forecheck, cycling the puck. I mean, it was incredible what the Islanders were doing. And they fed off that Nassau Coliseum crowd. And it's almost storybook that the Islander fan finally gets to see this team play huge games at the Nassau Coliseum, win clinching games at that building, the old barn, Fort Neverlose. It's surreal. I grew up going to Islander games where there would be nobody in the building. The team was in last. They stunk. I went to an Islander game once where there were Quebec City fans in the building chanting Quebec City stuff to try and convince the NHL to move the Islanders off Long Island back to Quebec City. Give Quebec City a team. It is surreal seeing what the Islanders have become. The Islanders have won a playoff series now in the first 3 seasons under Lou and Barry Trotz. They have won 6 playoff series. 6. The Islanders had won 5 playoff series over the previous 34 years combined before Lou and Barry Trotz got there. Hall of Fame management. It starts at the top. John Ledecky and Scott Malkin bought the team. They hired Lou, who then hired Trotz, and they got the heck out of the way. That's what great ownership does. It starts at the top. And John Ledecky's the man. He's celebrating in the crowd with the Islander fans. He's like the mayor of the Islander franchise. It's incredible. Barry Trotz has now won 6 playoff series with the Islanders since he left the Capitals. Washington hasn't won a damn thing. They've won 0. John Tavares has not won a playoff series in Toronto since he left the Islanders. It's too bad he's got to toil away, though, in Toronto. What a joke that was when people said that about the Islanders. I mean, you want to talk about consistency. Lou Lamoriello has now reached the semifinals in 5 different decades as a general manager. They have become one of the most well-run teams in sports, and it's just proof that no matter how bad your team is, if you get the right people in charge, it can turn around. The Islanders are the prime example of that, but there's plenty of other teams that have been really bad for a long time, and they get the right people in charge, and it all changes. You stay in New York. Look at the Knicks in the season they just had under Leon Rose and Tom Thibodeau. But there's countless other examples of teams that have been god-awful that get the right people in charge, and it changes. And it is surreal as someone who grew up going to games, seeing what this team has become. People act as if the Islanders are like this little engine that could. They're not. They have elite goaltending, Hall of Fame GM, Hall of Fame coach, and a bunch of guys that have more playoff experience than any other team over the last couple of years. This has been one of the great turnarounds in sports. Certainly one of the best turnarounds in the NHL. The Islanders are going to a conference final for the second year in a row. It's crazy when you consider what this franchise was for most of my childhood. And I mentioned it starts at the top. It also starts with this head coach. Barry Trotz is the best coach in hockey. He leaves the Capitals after they win a Stanley Cup because they don't want to pay him. He comes to the Islanders and immediately takes the same team that missed the playoffs before he got there to the second round. Follows that up last year by taking this team to Game 6 of the conference finals against Tampa. A game in which the Islanders were in double OT and had a Brock Nelson breakaway with a chance to force a Game 7. It's not like the Islanders were awful against Tampa last year. They're going to come to play this year. They're a better team this year than they were. And the great equalizer is they get to play games in that Nassau Coliseum. But back to Trotz. Starts with him coaching this team up. Lou hired him. Trotz gets the most out of this roster. There's maybe not a better coach in hockey than Barry Trotz. There's no one I'd rather have. This was Barry Trotz after the game last night, talking about how big of a moment winning Game 6 at the Nassau Coliseum is for the Islanders franchise.
We recognize this is a special moment for this building, and guys understood the magnitude of this game, the importance of the game, and this is a group that's very easy to, you don't have to say too many things. You just have to give them little reminders here and there. But they're really a solid veteran group. They understand the moments, and this was a moment for them and our crowd, and it was what a great atmosphere.
I mean, it was so loud. I mean, you couldn't think, Barry Trotz said after the game. And for those who don't really understand, like the acoustics of some building on Long Island, the Nassau Coliseum is, it is a dump, but it is our dump if you're from Long Island. The bathroom lines take forever. You're packed in like a sardine, but there's not a bad seat in the house. That's what's crazy about it, right? I mean, all these new venues spread out and packing in everyone. Nassau Coliseum fits 14,000. And the Islanders, I believe, are having 12,000 fans. I mean, it gets loud in there. And Islander fans are as passionate as any in the league. And it's surreal that after all this time and all the talk about the team moving and all the talk about this team having to go to Brooklyn and the Coliseum was done forever, that here they are winning games at the Coliseum like it's the 1980s dynasty all over again. But I go back to the overall theme. It starts at the top. And I feel like the Islanders give hope to every sports fan that's listening right now that roots for a team that is stunk or has bad ownership. If you get the right people in charge and get out of the way, if you're at ownership, it could turn around. Scott Malkin, John Ledecky buy the team. They come in, they hire Lou Lamoriello. They hire a Hall of Fame GM, who then hires a Hall of Fame head coach. And they get out of the way. James Dolan hires Leon Rose, who then hires Tom Thibodeau. And he gets out of the way. And the Knicks have their best season in 20 years, basically. Like, it starts at the top. Hire the right people and get out of the way. The reason why teams stay bad is because they hire the wrong people. Like, I don't believe teams are just bad forever. There's a reason why you're bad. I mean, the Islanders lost their best player in free agency when Barry Trotz and Lou took over. And since then, Toronto continues to choke every year in the playoffs. Tavares can't get out of the first round. And here come the Islanders in the semifinals for the second year in a row. It shows you it's a lot more than just talent and having the best team. Because if it was about just pure talent, the Islanders would have lost to Pittsburgh or Boston. It's way more than that. This team is as cohesive of a unit as you'll find. And they're as well coached as any team in the NHL. And it's surreal because this team growing up was irrelevant and a disaster. The only time the Islanders ever made news is, rumors of them moving or what's happening with the Coliseum, or are the Islanders going to, be stuck in Brooklyn forever? It's just crazy that here they are, same old Islanders, right back in the conference finals. LGI, baby. Let's go, Islanders. More coming up next.
Auto Accident Help Desk is a marketing agency connecting callers